Hello, everyone, and welcome to the pre-match show. The lineup is out. Less than an hour to go. Heck, 45 minutes to go to kick off over here. Ready to roll and hope that last week was a new beginning, continued by the City game, and then we keep going. So we're gonna bring a bunch of people on as we go. I know Maka is on his way, slightly delayed. Probably he's finishing his potatoes and chasing it down with gin or something like that. But my morning buddy Trevor's here before he heads over to the pub. Trevor, what's going on, man?
Not too much. Got just final preparations and
So
trying
we
to.
talked about, I don't know, we pretty much called this lineup for the most part. I think I was more wanting Robertson on the left and
I think
save
that was the only thing
Costas
that we had.
for
Yeah.
Forest. But what do you think of this lineup?
Well, if you listen to all the score tracker apps, this is going to be a 4-4-2, which I found pretty funny. But I really think this is the game where Nunez has to shine because he's got three guys whose main goal is to get the ball forward and then work towards the middle. And if he can kind of work in those spaces that they're not, he's going to get plenty of opportunities against a West Ham defense that is very weak up the middle.
And yeah, that's the thing. I kind of really like the Bobby Nunez thing in the middle there, with Bobby moving all those center backs all over the place to create space for Nunez. Just gotta watch the line and take advantage of that. So kind of excited to see that. I guess the only concern I would have looking at this lineup is the left side, and not only
Yeah.
because of Costas, but the defending through the left between Costas, Thiago, and Carvalho is probably the only thing that concerns me, knowing there's Bowen on the other side. I know he's not having the best season, like trying to get back to his old form. He has done better recently, really started out the season slow, but how much are you worried about that part?
I, I'm mildly concerned. I'd say that, yeah, Carvalho tracking back is not the ideal person that you want over there with a Thiago that's going to probably not play a full 90 minutes. And Simicast, when we both said we wanted Robbo in there for at least the start of this one. And maybe if he comes on at like the 60-minute mark or something and we kind of get that closer rather than that just initial burst, that's perfectly fine by me too. But yeah, I agree with you that the left side, and yeah, Bowen's not off to a flying start this season, but he's a guy that when he does get going, the goals come in bunches. And I'd rather that initial gear not come at our expense.
But here's the thing. I mean, aside from, I guess, like, I do like this lineup, and I do think, we're gonna get a good game out of this lineup today. But I mean, I hope so in some ways, because you look at that bench over there. By the way, look at the name on the bench over there. Look who is back. Guess who's back? Back again.
Yeah,
Ox is back for a
your
great
boy
opportunity,
Ox.
people. But here's the thing. I mean, apart from Elliott's, you do not have a lot of, or heck, any. I mean, obviously you could count Ox, but like firepower off the bench. So we almost do need this 11 to get going and get some goals early. And then yeah, you can get these guys some time and get some rest, because obviously there's a short turnaround. And we got a game again this weekend. But Sparky Parky says Fab should be in for Hendo, which I guess it would be more safe in some ways defensively. But one thing I like about having Hendo in there, both Hendo and Thiago, is you're going to be able to move the ball a lot faster against probably West Ham team that we kind of expect to sit back a little bit.
Yeah, their interconnectivity is much better than Fab in either of the two. So that works for me on that front. And going back to Colin Robertson, a closer, Fabinho is. You love to see him get more playing time and get starts, but he's a guy that is perfect for closing out games. That will come in, not afraid to take a yellow to put an attack on its ass. He's him like in if you're going to do like midfield subs, him and Jones together as a guy to just wipe people out and or hoof the ball up the field. those are two guys that you could have late in games. Milner's there as well as an option.
I was going to
Even though
speaking of knocking people out
I
and
think he'd
away.
rather be deployed at right back late in the game with this one without that cover.
So I know you gotta start heading over to the pub over there. Give us a score prediction before you head out.
Yeah, I got a few more minutes, but I'm gonna go 3-1, like I said in the Discord, and because I'm just worried about that West Ham throw a bunch of people out, get a silly penalty, and then they get their goal that way. I don't trust them that much in the run of play, but they are a team that is crafty at the old dark arts. So we'll go 3-1 to the good guys.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I have there's a lot of reason to be optimistic. I just hope this optimism is not coming through, just like the last performance we saw there. I know what Sparky is saying though, in terms of defensively, you would feel a lot more safer if Fab was there. But I think Fab was more suited for the City game. That's a team that's going to attack. Whereas I think Hendo kind of suits it a bit more in terms of if we're trying to open up a defense that's kind of sitting back. Let's bring on this guy over here. Mecca, what's happening, man?
Well, my body's here. My brain is still driving the car. I rushed here from work.
So we see the lineup over here. What do you make of it?
What to be expected, I think. Maybe Robertson out for Tsimikas, but that's probably just managing Robertson's minutes right now. Back for, if Kanate was fit, you'd put him in there, but Gomez is doing a good job. Carvalho, Salah as the outside mids, attackers, that's standard now without Jota, I think, and without Diaz, and then Firmino and Nunes. There's no surprises in it. Henderson, I can understand, actually, just listening to the conversation there, I can understand it because he will understand how to play against Declan Rice probably better than Fabinho and Thiago would, because he understands that up and at him British sort of, and I say that very pointedly at Declan Rice, the traitorous bastard. He will understand the kind of runs and the kind of energy he's going to bring, the traitorous bastard.
Yeah, I did sense. I was about to mention that I was sensing some bitterness there, and yeah, way to own up to it.
Him and Grealish.
You should be happy with Grealish's low socks not showing up over there. But so the right-hand side, obviously we did not want to pound on Milner and trying to get some more minutes out of him before he collapses on the field. I know we think he's a machine and everything, but still, just played a really tough game. Big ordeal for Trent being there. You think that's going to be a side that's going to be watched very closely defensively, Trevor?
I think it's something where the first sign of trouble, I don't think Klopp's going to hesitate to yank him, because he is coming back at a more rapid rate than people were expecting with the injury, and of course his defensive woes that everybody put on him over these early parts of the season. It was, there's I don't think a short leash. We'll go medium leash on Trent.
You're saying leash based on performance, or the leash on the fact of, we don't want to pile on minutes?
I think a combination of both. I think they don't want to give him that full 90 when he could still be a little banged up, but also just to keep his confidence high if it's going late and West Ham starting to pile the pressure on, and there's that chance for him to just kind of run out of gas, get him out of there before he makes a mistake just based on fatigue and not any of the other, not positioning, not defensive acumen. Just get him out of there before somebody can make a point that's not really a point.
How about you, Mecca? How crucial do you think is going to be his performance coming back into that spot?
Well, West Ham aren't the lowest dribblers in the league. They don't tend to carry the ball an awful lot, but they do tend to cross an awful lot. So that old spectre of Trent losing his man at the back post might raise its head. But I think I hear Trevor say, or you say, that West Ham are going to sit back pretty much. They're Moyes always plays with a little bit of fear. I mean, he's successful at it, but it's still always a very conservative way of playing. So I think we'll have the ball most of the time. So we can handle their transitions, which is where Henderson, I think, will come in.
Yeah.
Then we'll do a lot better than we would do against maybe a stronger, more positive team. So I'm not worried about Trent tonight. I just hope that Salah is staying more central and more as an inside midfielder, so that space opens up for Trent to attack, because I think that'll do his confidence the world of good if we can get him back to what he's good at, which is just getting the ball in the box from the wide areas. I'm not worried about him defensively. If we can see the goal, it's because somebody else didn't do their job to stop the cross in the first place. But I don't think I don't think Moyes is bright enough to attack that side. I think that side he's going to say, let's just
give credit to David. But we were talking about it like before you came on, because I look at this lineup, and that's probably my only concern initially when you look at this lineup is that left-hand side defensively. How concerned are you, the combination of Costas, Carvalho, and obviously Thiago being on that side?
I mean, Tsimikas does his job defensively. He's not as maybe creative, like he doesn't come up with surprises the way Robertson does. He just, you know what Tsimikas is going to give you. He's going to give you work up and down the line, and he's going to give you crosses that are maybe not as accurate sometimes. That sometimes they're a little bit wild, but he's not going to be dribbling in and getting to the near post and stuff like that. So I think he's fine. Carvalho is where I'd worry. He does do the work, but he's like paper in the wind. Like you could sneeze on him and he'll fall over. So I'd be worried about the robustness, because we know one thing about Moyes from his time at Everton, his teams are always physical.
Yeah,
they're always big guys, and they're always willing to use that size to their advantage. So I'd worry about that a little bit. And then Thiago's a tough cookie, so he's not going to be fazed by that. But he's not maybe as or rather, he's more attacking than Henderson would be. So he's going to be want to be in those passing positions. So a gap might exist there, but thank the Lord for Saint Virgil of the Netherlands, because I think he'll shore that up. I mean, it's Bowen and what is his name, Scamacca or whatever his name is.
Yeah, Scamacca's in the middle.
Yeah, great name by the way. He's obviously a good player. But those two might be a threat. And I know Gally loves Bowen, but it's still Jared Bowen. It's not Kylian Mbappe. We shouldn't be worrying about West Ham. It's a David Moyes team. It's going to be humped long, crossed in the box, battle it out. If we handle that, we'll win 3-0.
Yeah, Gally and Bickler would be very upset. They're huge fans of Bowen. They have been for quite some time, actually. But
I would rather have Jim Bowen, and that's an English joke for the Brits and the Irish out there watching.
That's the FPL bias, Bowen.
That is the FPL bias. Yeah, it could be. I mean, no, it's definitely has not had the start that he had, but then again, West Ham hasn't either. So I guess you could come back and say the same thing about Mo or something like that too. Like, has not had the start that you expect at the beginning of the season. Speaking of Mo, by the way, Trevor, before you start your run towards the pub, what kind of a role do you expect him to be? Because we saw him a lot more central, but we were playing a lot more counter against City. This is going to be obviously different, where we're going to be attacking a bit more. Where do you see him? Are we going back to tying him to the sideline where he's holding the flag with the linesman, or is he going to be able to get time to kind of come to the middle where he's obviously a lot more effective?
Well, I agree with Mac on the point that he should kind of be a little bit more in when it comes to the attack. So him and Bobby and Nunez can kind of have like that triangle where they can kind of just rotate wherever they need to at any point, and each man can have their turn at the old tip of the triangle, and that will get all of them opportunities. It won't cause any real deficiencies if they have to track back, because each guy will know what to do in either of the spots that they're in. And you don't and you also, as you were saying, you give Trent that lane up the right where he can kind of just go out and do Trent things and not have to worry about having to feed Mo and then Mo be that distribution channel on that side and have to make something work. He has that guy where he can cut across and not just have to pump crosses in over and over and over again.
And that's what I always get concerned with, because I feel like sometimes when when we play Nunez in the middle in a games like this, we almost force those crosses, Mecca, and try to find them, whereas normally we would never cross the ball.
No, we're big crossers of the ball statistically. We're one of the most
But okay, let me
crosses of
rephrase
the
that
ball.
maybe.
The problem is that we sometimes forget we're not crossing to score necessarily from that ball. We're crossing to get that second ball. If you look at our goals from cross, it's often that second ball and that's what we probably missed a lot when we had makeshift midfields and we had like Milner in there and all that, because they weren't really thinking pick up that second ball. Whereas we know Henderson loves to do it. We know Thiago loves to do it. Fabinho sometimes loves to do it. So I think we've said this before. Nunez almost acts as a distraction because they'll probably think we are crossing to Nunez. So if we take care of Nunez, we're going to be fine. Oh, look, Bobby Firmino's just ran onto the second ball and tapped it in. Oh, no, that's our plan. Dead. So I think the crosses are fine. It's just, as we talked about for so long at the start of the season, getting the right midfield blend in there to pick up the second ball. That's almost the basis of a lot of our game. And Klopp says it constantly, picking up that second ball. If we do that right, everything works out well for Liverpool.
Well, yeah, I mean, it helps build the pressure as well. I really am eager to see Bobby, because I feel like he would be benefiting from that the most, because he can take those spaces, and when he gets the ball over there, he can make that one extra pass to get somebody set up like Mo or somebody like that. And that's why I want Mo necessarily closer to him. I just don't want to see a lot of crossing the ball by Mo into a Nunez who's in between three players in the West Ham goal trying to get something out of it ordeal. But so before you bail on us, Trevor, who's scoring these 3 goals that you predict?
I got Nunez getting 1, Bobby setting up Mo for 1 with what was just described of nodding the first ball down, and Mo picks out the far corner, and then we'll just throw a wild card in there and say
Ox.
We'll say Virgil off a Simicast corner. I think he's better at corner deliveries than Robertson.
That's true. That's true. Well,
Virgil at the near post.
I'm always trying to get something for Ox in there. But Trevor, thanks a lot, man. And hopefully we'll be talking again after the win tomorrow morning. Take care.
Yep.
So now, just you and me, buddy boy. What do you make of this bench? I'm excited to see Ox over there just for the humor part of it, if nothing else. Are you concerned that really, aside from Elliott, we can't really change things up a whole lot if plan A doesn't work?
No, I think let's just be positive about Nunez and say he knows where the goal is. It's just not coming off for him sometimes.
I think so.
He's definitely getting the shots. We have Firmino, which we know he's a known quantity. He's a genius with the ball. Salah, best attacker in the world for a good few years. Carvalho, an unknown quantity. Maybe tonight's the night you get something. But you only really need, when you really think about it, you only need one goal scorer on the field to win a game, as long as you can get the ball to that player in the areas they like to receive it. So I don't think we're going to miss. If we have to sub one player out, we're okay. If we have to sub Firmino, Salah, and Nunez out, yes, we have a problem. I think just the midfield thing is Henderson, Thiago, Fabinho, Milner. If we can just keep that solid and make sure we're matching their midfield for effort and for intelligence, I think we'll be fine. What I think could happen, just because I like these movie Hollywood kind of things, is Carvalho coming off, Ox coming on and shutting us all up by scoring like a 30-yard belter into the top corner.
Preach! I know where you're coming from now. Yeah, what a great opportunity for him.
But I mean, looking at the West Side, like really realistically, Aaron Cresswell, Kurt Zouma, Tito Kehrer, Ben Johnson, and Lucas Fabianski. What is there to be afraid of there if you're the Liverpool team?
I love your confidence.
We should be putting the ball into that net. And if we don't, that's on us, not on them.
We got to do all the pre-matches together, because your confidence kind of like calms me down. Because I guess these games when we're home, my biggest worry is always like, are we going to be able to unlock the defense and break the lines. I mean, like I say, I do like this lineup. Would have obviously loved to have like Diaz or Jota on the left hand side, which but out of the lineup we have, are you shocked that we don't have Elliott out there, or after the City game? He does not have the legs that probably Carvalho has right now, based on the thing. See, Sparky is going with a 3-1 too.
I think he's a kid still. I mean, he's not a young kid, but he's still a young player who's just come through one of the hardest games we're going to play this season, and certainly mentally difficult, because it's City. You can't switch off for a second, and we didn't. So I think Klopp he's a smart man. Like he's not an unintelligent coach. He probably looks at the player and goes, that was a tough game. Let's have a bit of a break. We might stick it on in the second half, but you rest the body, you rest the mind, you get a better player the week after. There's an old saying, rest is a weapon. We're going to need a lot of our players after Christmas, because we don't know how the World Cup is going to shake out for us in terms of who's available and who's fatigued or whatnot. So keeping somebody like Elliott or Carvalho or Curtis Jones, if we can get him back on track fitness-wise, fresh for the second half of the season, it's a smart move. So I'm not worried at all about that. It's a good move, I think.
I think so too. I mean, mental part, I think, is the biggest part of it. I mean, that City game, especially for a young player like him, with the intensity, and like I say, you had to be switched on the entire time you're on the field. So that has to wear down our mentally a lot more than maybe somebody experienced like Thiago, who's been there, done that in big games, and it's probably is not as mentally tiring for him as it would be for like a young player. So the ideal scenario, I guess, is an early leads, like getting the game under control. Because you look at this bench and there's a lot of, Trevor was referring to them as closers. There's a bunch of closers you can bring to get some rest to the other bodies and also get some minutes under guys like, all joking aside, like Ox, and even Curtis is on there as well. And I can also almost see like Robertson coming in the last 15-20 to stretch legs and stuff like that, because that's something like Klopp likes to do. Whoever's going to start the weekend comes in and like gets like a 15-20 minute run.
I think I agree with you with the start thing. I actually I don't do predictions on specifics in football, because the game just doesn't work like that. But Darwin Núñez to score in the first 10 minutes. That's going to be my only prediction or prophecy or whatever.
Okay, so you won't make a goal scorer prediction because that's too tricky, but you will give freaking minutes and minute gap. And okay, got it. Makes a lot of sense.
I'm a boiling cauldron of contradictions, Timuchin. But no, I think you're right. I mean, there's a plan for the weekend. It's never us supporters always look to the next game. Coaches and managers and players always say we're only focused on the next game, but they're not. They have to look 2 or 3 games ahead, because that's where your rest comes. You have to find out where your rest periods are going to be. You have to find out when you're going to actually be able to train tactically, etc. So they're always looking a little bit more ahead than we are. So I can see players that are on the bench today maybe starting at the weekend, or in the case of Ox and Jones, maybe a plan to get them extra minutes on the weekend. Like if they do 10 minutes today, maybe they get 15 the next, just to build up their match fitness. But there's nothing unpositive about anything about that lineup today. Not the starting lineup, but not the bench. It's exactly what we need. We just prefer to have Jota and Diaz and Konate, etc. available. It's not a huge it's not a huge forbearance to not have them right now, for this game.
Honestly, on a game like this, a guy I would like to have would be Matip. In turn, for the center back, like over even Konate. I think, when we're trying to break down lines, I think he's like the best center back to have. I think Gomez is very capable of doing that, if not more. The guy can play right back. I think he just does not take those adventures as much as, obviously like Matip does. So let me ask you this, because I haven't gotten the chance to talk to you since the City game. How does the Rangers game, then the City game this weekend, how does that carry on to it? Is it like, all right, here we go, here's the momentum, or is there some kind of relief after that City game? Not to mention like the tiredness from the City game that carries on to this, or is it just full blown momentum that carries on to this?
I would have the feeling, like I was thinking more like on Elliott, maybe there's like for young players, there's probably an adrenaline crash after a game like that. You're just, you have yourself as an ex-player, you have a great game. The next day, you just feel miserable for some reason, even though you just played like the best game. And you can never explain it. And for us, back in our day, you'd play Sunday, so you'd think it was just the Monday blues. But I think they found that it's basically your adrenaline goes so high, and then you just go, you go straight down after, because it is a high, an achievement like that you've put so much effort and work into. So I could see that kind of thing affecting like a young player like Elliot. But for us, we talked about it on the Thursday pod. It wasn't a Bournemouth high scoring game against Rangers. We went to them, but they came out to have a go at Liverpool. They tried to play the first half of the first half rather. They came at us with everything they had, and we had to work to earn the first few goals we got, and then we got a hat-trick on top of that. I always say you can't legislate for a hat-trick. Sometimes the player's just on it. It's just everything's falling for them that day. So even at 4-1, that game is still in our control from start to finish. The City game, physically draining, mentally draining, but emotionally, you're ready to go again. You're ready to take on the world, I'd say, after that. So I think this is a good game for us, because West Ham will be a challenge, but not an easy. You never want to call a game an easy game, but it would be another step in the right direction. So I think we'll have the focus. I think we'll surprise them a little bit with a quicker start than we're used to seeing this season. We've had those slow starts, but I think we've built the momentum from the performances, not from the results. We've had the results sometimes before, and it's just fallen off immediately afterwards. It was just a commanding performance and get the sleeves rolled up. We're in for a battle here, and they win. So I think we're going to see another level, I hope, again today.
I know you don't like to make predictions, except the fact that Nunez is going to score in the first 10 minutes.
First 9.5 minutes.
First 9.5, sorry, before it turns 10. Yes, let me correct that. And the fact that we're going to win 3-0 and stuff. Predictions is not your game. But
no, right, I'm not into that at all.
After this game, who do you think we'll be talking about? What is one key guy that you think we'll be talking about in terms of performance after this game? Good or bad?
Good. I would say Nunez. It's almost built for him, I think, because he really is a British kind of player in size and stuff like that. He really is Andy Carroll, but with more skill and less alcohol. And I don't mean that as an insult. I mean, like, Andy Carroll was built for the English game.
All people should not be using that as an insult. Yeah. Coming from you, that's almost like a compliment.
Yes, I think he's just physically built for the game. He just hasn't found his touch yet. Disappointment wise, I mean, if there's anybody that's going to disappoint us, I would have a feeling it would be Alisson making some sort of clanger to give them a goal in the last 10 minutes, like something where he could have held on to a ball. That would be about it.
In the goddamn universe.
Because if I put it out, it won't happen. It's like when you do the lottery, you never get the numbers, and then when you stop doing it, your numbers show up. That's how I look at it. That's why I'm poor.
Well, you're going with the 3-0. I'm going with the 3-1. Time to get situated in front of the TV and start the nervous wreck that it is a Liverpool game, at least for me. The dogs are ready to go. Hopefully, they'll be getting a lot of snacks. That's what they'll be going for. The City game, they did not give a lot of snacks, but post-match, it was a bash of snacks right there. So these two guys over there, one on each side, is waiting eagerly for this game. You'll be on for a post-match, correct? We'll be talking.
Yeah, it should be, because it was a little bit earlier. I also have a snack system as well, where every time the clock changes, I have a snack. And there's a lot of seconds in that 90 minutes. That's why I'm this size.
Oh, another secret comes out. Nobody would have guessed. Nobody would have guessed.
It's the camera adds £10 and I have 5 laptops.
To me, the camera adds like 30 years. I'm like freaking 15. I'm probably the maturity of a 15-year-old, but still in a much older body. Well, Mecca, let's go get these 3 points, man. And thanks to all those listening, following, commenting. Meet us after the post match. So hopefully we'll be talking about a big Liverpool win. Take care, guys.